Good morning. We are live on the Falcons Podcast. It is NFL Draft Eve, Wednesday morning, April 24th. 4:25 is the NFL Draft. It's finally here after months and months of speculating, frankly, years at times. Nick, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing pretty well, excited for things to finally happen. And man, it's always the chaos of the draft where the coaches and all these other rumors start to come out. And it's like, wait a second. The Falcons are looking at quarterback maybe in the top 10. The Broncos aren't going to trade up. They're trading down. Or Zach Wilson, what the heck's going on? But it's fun, and I'm excited for it to happen and have all the speculation and mock drafts and rumors come to a close as reality sets in and the draft is underway.
And programming note, we will be live just after 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and we will go at least through our reaction of the Falcons pick. Hopefully they don't trade back to like 30 because I won't last 5 hours. So I'll have to come back and say, listen, guys, we're taking off. We'll be back at pick 25 because my voice won't last that long. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll be just right after the draft gets going. As they do, they always say 8 o'clock, but whatever. They do their pregame BS. So we'll probably be on 8:05, 8:10. Make sure you hit that subscribe button or that like button on Facebook so you get the alert when we go live. I'll have it built. We'll go live. It'll ping you, and we'll be good to go. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because we like having the conversation. So we want to say hello first with some people that came in nice and early before we even got started, like John Harrell. And one of the topics of the show was Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan officially retired. It was very cool. He came in, signed a one-day contract with the Atlanta Falcons, and retired as an Atlanta Falcon, as he should. He didn't retire last year. Nobody really said this because it's kind of distasteful, but hey, I'll say it. He didn't retire last year because he still had some guaranteed money from the Indianapolis Colts in the tune of about $13 million. So if he had retired, it would have cost him about $13 million. So he didn't officially retire until he got his check from one of his multiple restructures that he had done. Sat in the booth. Once that guaranteed money from his last NFL contract was out, then he retired. Good for him. He should get paid. Let him. And I'm happy for him. And he was, as John Harrell says, thank you, Matt Ryan, for being the ultimate pro, best quarterback in Falcons history. Frankly, one of the best Atlanta Falcons in history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really fun player. Sad that his legacy is a little tarnished with that Super Bowl, but that shouldn't totally obviously diminish on what he did out there. He was a franchise quarterback for a long time. And I remember being on the show with you when Matt Ryan was in his final season in Atlanta, talking about him, obviously older, doesn't move very well, taking a lot of sacks, diminishing talent, and saying, this is the end. You can tell it's kind of close to the end here, but just because the mystery box is the mystery box doesn't mean it's going to be better automatically from here. And boy, the Mariota Desmond Ridder years were very forgettable. And hopefully this is a new era for Atlanta Falcons. Not a long time, honestly, in quarterback purgatory, speaking from a Broncos fan. So I don't feel too bad for you, I guess, in that regard. But yeah, Matt Ryan, heck of a player. Great guy, too. I still hold it against him that he chose, I think, one of his final two schools for college were Boston College and Iowa, and he chose BC. So how he could have been great, man. He could have been great if he chose the Hawks. Joking, of course. But no, great player, and happy to see him go out honored like that.
Roderick Cook says, good to see Matt getting some respect. Wasn't his fault. He took over from Michael Vick. And there was I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of a gap in there for sure. Goodness gracious. We're going to get to Michael in just 1 second here. The 28-3 thing, as I was writing up his highlights, and I'm trying to hit 250 words and put some stats in there, I'm like, just how bad was it as far as Matt Ryan and Falcons defenses? And I posted this yesterday on my Twix page and on the Facebook page. I'm like, everybody talks about 28-3, but how about these numbers if you compare Matt Ryan and the Falcons versus Tom Brady and the Patriots? 28-3, right? We know that number. How about 27-1? 27-1 was the Falcons scoring defense ranked versus the Patriots scoring defense ranked in 2016, 27-1. How about 16-3? 16. In 19 years as the Patriots starter, Tom Brady had 16 top 10 scoring defenses. 16 out of 19. Matt Ryan had 3. In those 3 seasons, I think his record was 36-12. In those 3 seasons, he had a top 10 defense. A pair of 13-3s, and then like a 10. Then I think the other one was the 2018 team when Sarkisian kind of helped tank the offense in 2017. And then 8-0. How many times Matt Ryan's defense was ranked worse than 17th in scoring? 0. How many times Tom Brady's defense as a starter of the New England Patriots was ranked worse than 17th? 0. My point being is not to say that Matt Ryan was a better quarterback than Tom Brady. It's just that Tom Brady had a better team. He had a better franchise. If you switch those two guys over the course of their careers, what's the narrative? What's the Super Bowl count? Is it still 6-0 for the Patriots? No, no, it's not. I mean, for Tom Brady, is it still 6-0? No, it's not. It just isn't. So Matt Ryan deserves the respect that he has earned over the course of his career, whether or not the Falcons reach the lofty heights of someone like Tom Brady.
Yeah, the real question will be Hall of Fame or not. I know that he has some good counting statistics, but I feel like some of the mountaintop accolades are just missing for him. But if he got in, I would totally understand. It's just, yeah, I mean, the line for quarterback is weird, right? It feels like, are we going to let in a third of or a fourth of the quarterbacks any time in the league? Like the fourth of the top guys going in right now? I don't know. Like Phillip Rivers, you talk about Matt Ryan, you talk about Eli Manning has the 2 rings, but not super gaudy in the regular season. There's a bunch of those kind of guys that are really good that probably get in. But we'll see. I'm glad I'm not a voter. And if Matt got in, heck of a guy, good career. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know that Matt Ryan will get in. I know that he was a very, very good quarterback in this league for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And his legacy kind of got tarnished with the last quarter of 2016 on. It was downhill for Matt Ryan. And, he'd already put up 9 years up until that point. I want to say hello to some folks. Edward Brown coming in with a super chat. He says, thanks for the memories, Matt. One more day before we welcome Edge Dallas Turner to the ATL. Coming in red hot with the sunrise. Red Sunrise Ronquillo says, good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. Michael, $100 super chat for the Falcons podcast. $100 super chat for me and Nick. Here's to you. Cheers. Thank you so much. You're going to have to email me, skinnity@gmail.com. I don't know if you were a coffee or a tea drinker. I know we sent you a mug already. We're going to get you some coffee coming your way from Lion Coffee. So thank you so much, Michael. It's just the support that you show. The show is huge. Mark Schrader is in here nice and early as well. He comes in with $10, says, good morning, Scott and Nick. And Nick, what do you have to say so far about, our supporters?
I mean, God, what can you say? Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on. We weren't sure when Scott and I started to do the Falcons stuff, what the response would be. We've been doing it for about, 14 months now. And it's awesome to see the Falcons group obviously grow and grow. But honestly, what's shocking to me is the Broncos folks that have followed us over that are supporting us on this as well as the Broncos stuff. So God bless you guys. You're all incredible. And I mean, what can you even say? Thank you.
Yeah,
God,
the crossover has been really cool. We've got, because we'll do Mile High Huddle from here, and we see some of the Falcons fans come over and cross over, and it's a great community. We love it. I cut my teeth in recruiting professionally, and I was always on other fans' message boards. I like hearing the perspective from other people. It doesn't mean we have to agree, but as long as we're having good conversations. It was kind of funny that the Monday show with the Kirk Cousins thing, there were just some angry Vikings fans coming in. I mean, they're angry. And and I haven't changed my Broncos country thing. Let's get to Atlanta here, Scott. Mm-hmm. I changed the box. I forgot to change the background. We'll do Broncos next. They're just angry. They're like, oh, you're going to be crying in your coffee and your beer, and you're going to be so upset. I'm like, no, I really won't. I really won't. I'm mad when my son strikes out or isn't playing. That's when I'm mad. I'm mad when they don't turn in an assignment. That's what makes me mad. I'm so disgusted with Chelsea. I didn't even turn on the game yesterday because I knew they were going to get walloped. The Falcons getting punished for tampering. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. If it happens, it happens. I'm telling you. I've said this before, Nick. There is nothing that the NFL or other fans can say or do that is going to hurt you worse than the Atlanta Falcons have already done to Falcons fans over the last 40 years. they've stomped on our hearts. We're pretty heartless at this point.
Yeah, I will say, if there is a fan base that maybe is as hurt as the Falcons, I think the Vikings probably up there for tormented because they've had some good teams, and I mean, you beat them. What they 15-1 that season that you beat them to go to the
15-1.
Super Bowl.
The Falcons were overlooked because they're the Falcons. The Falcons were 14-2. They had a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. They were good.
Yeah.
And they robbed us of what should have been a phenomenal Super Bowl. I'm not going to say they were going to beat Elway's Broncos coming off, the Super Bowl champ, but the Falcons were legit. I mean, they had a song, but that was earlier. Too legit to quit with MC Hammer. That team was legit, and they just went there and lost their minds. They didn't even put up a fight, and it was really disappointing because that should have been an epic Super Bowl game.
Yeah. Yep, it's in the past, though, obviously. Well, that's long time ago now. Yeah, good Falcons team. We'll see what happens here. But the Vikings also pretty tormented, especially by the Packers. I mean, God, it's a rough time just to have that one tormentor like that. But I see a lot of comments in the chat here. We're talking edge rusher. It's been Dallas Turner. Scott, I was listening to the Athletic Football Pod yesterday, and they talked about that maybe, and it's Lion season. God, here we are right down the end. But it sounds like maybe the Falcons aren't for sure Dallas Turner all the way there at 8 overall, and there's been a little bit of Vegas buzz, and the chat is picking up on it as well, that Leatu Latu might actually be higher for the Falcons, an option there. Somebody we haven't discussed so much at 8. I still don't know about 8 overall there, Scott, for him, but maybe a trade back and get some picks to be ready to maybe lose some in the future and go get a different edge rusher.
You mentioned Lion season. I want to remind everybody that it's always Lion season for us. LionCoffee.com, the partner of the Falcons podcast, right in the morning. I want to remind everybody at Lion Coffee, you can go to LionCoffee.com and get the Cafe Honolulu. Like I'm drinking right now. This one's empty because I have finished this one, but this one is the medium bold. They've been sending us coffee for over a year now. They are official partners of this show, which means at LionCoffee.com, if you use the code GoFalcons20, you can get 20% off anything you order there, except 100% Kona or cases. Everything else, including what I'm drinking right now, is Lion Coffee. Lion Coffee powers Nick and I for the Falcons podcast, for our morning shows, and frankly, every other day of the week as well. They are a great company to work with, and they have a great product. Those are the kind of people I like partnering with, and you'll love them too.
Yeah, incredible coffee. God bless them. I just got another package the other day. My wife and I thank you dearly for it. My mom was out here for, 10 days when the baby was first born, and she's like, oh my God, do you have any more of that Lion coffee you could send me? So big fan of that as well. Make sure you guys are checking it out, lioncoffee.com.
Yep. There's a link in the chat. There's a link in the description. Make sure you're hitting them up. They're a partner of the show. They're friends of the podcast, and we've got a lot of friends here too. So I want to introduce y'all. So thank you so much. We're going to get back to what Nick had to say with the Lion season here, and possibly Michael Penix, because I've got my thoughts on that, but there is some buzz around Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons. Coach coming in. Good morning, studs. He's offering up some coffee emoji. Win the day. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the super chat. Lance Render coming in. He says, the biggest thing with Matt Ryan is he had 8 losing seasons his final 10 years. Defense or not, he didn't live up to his 2008 extension particularly. And I think that ended up making a lot of people angry, so to speak. What we talk, 17 was okay. He actually had a great season in 2017. I'm sorry. He had a great season in 2018. And 2017 was Sarkisian's first year as a coordinator, and they had the biggest drop-off from a number 1 offense in history. In 17 and 18, second year in that system, the team had already given up. Matt Ryan was great. He had like 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 18 started the losing. 18, 19, 20, 21. 4 losing seasons in a row to cap it off. Before that, it was kind of the golden age of Atlanta Falcons football. You expect the playoffs every year, Super Bowl appearance, playoffs, winning seasons. I mean, this is a team that hadn't had back-to-back winning seasons in its history until Arthur Blank bought the team. It was a professional sports record. So, yeah, there was a lot of losing in there. I like to mention somebody like, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was a phenomenal quarterback on a bad franchise. No offense, Detroit Lions. We're all in this together, And they've had two of arguably the greatest of all time who never made a Super Bowl, in Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. Does that lessen who those guys were? In the eyes of some, it does, but it doesn't. It's Matt Ryan was a spectacular quarterback in this league for a long time. He just was on a franchise that wasn't always, top 10. And just look at those defenses. Again, 3 top 10 defenses in his 14 years as a starter. 3. Tom Brady had 16 of 19. Wouldn't that have been nice?
You're making my Peyton Manning as good as Tom Brady argument there. Heck of a career. And he was one of those quarterbacks. It's one of those things where it's like, do you want to pay elite money for very good? And what does that look like when you're trying to build a team? But it's not just Matt Ryan. It's the flubs in the draft year after year, the mismanagement of resources as well. So it doesn't just come on him. It just makes it makes your margin for error in how you add picks, add talent smaller. So not just Matt Ryan's contract, but misses around him.
Yeah, that rebuild should have started in 2018 instead of doubling down on old declining players.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just Matt Ryan. It was Julio Jones. Deion Jones was okay, but he got a giant contract, and it crushed the team. It really did. And then a lot of the draft, just ignoring the trenches to the extent that they did, was counterproductive. Yeah, you put in 2 first-round draft picks in Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry, but by then it was too late. You'd already kind of missed your window on that one. So lots of good things. Matt Ryan, hats off to you. He was a great Atlanta Falcon, represented the team, the city, and the organization with nothing but class, and it was good to see him go out as an Atlanta Falcon. And hopefully some of the bitterness from his, the Falcons' past failures under his watch will go away, and we can think back and remember, some of the good times, because it really was a golden age for Atlanta Falcons football during his tenure, because the ages before that weren't so good. Now, lots of talk going on in the chat right now. Terry Fontenot was speaking yesterday, and he talked about need for us. That was interesting. Best available player for the Atlanta Falcons, not necessarily what you guys think based on these boards is the best available player, but who's the best available prospect for the Atlanta Falcons. And he talked up edge rushers. He talked up pass rushers. He talked up defensive line. He talked up corners. What does that mean? Because Michael Penix, his name is out there, Nick. Jeremy Fowler today in his last-minute draft notes comes out and says multiple people this week said they believe the Falcons like Penix a lot. Enough to take him at 8? That's hard to say, but he'll likely be long gone by the time the Falcons are on the clock again at number 43. Michael Penix in the first round for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's say they trade back to 12 to stay in front of the Raiders. And what would be your gut reaction to a Michael Penix in the first round at 12? And you pick up a number 2. You pick up a second-round pick.
I mean, you're taking a shot at a quarterback, and if you love the quarterback, I am never really against that move, because you're looking for a guy. Even if you have a guy like Kirk Cousins there, if you think Michael Penix has a chance to be a decade franchise player, then it makes sense. Now he's a little bit older. I think he's going to be the 3rd oldest quarterback drafted since 2010, and some of that is because the COVID year, the NIL stuff, and everything like that. But that matters to some extent. How old? I think it's Brandon Weeden, Bo Nix, and then Michael Penix is the oldest 3 quarterbacks drafted in the last 15 draft cycles. So notable, no doubt. And Penix is an interesting player. He's ran a 4.5 at the pro day, but only had, I think, 8 total rushing yards this year. Now, granted, the college stats are weird because the sacks count as negative rushing yards for the quarterbacks, but he didn't really take many sacks. So
I was going to say, elite college quarterbacks on 14-0 teams don't get sacked a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. It depends.
Again, why should he run? He's got a howitzer for an arm and a bevy of wide receivers.
Yeah, it does matter to some extent to create plays. Like one of my biggest criticisms of Penix, besides some of the accuracy stuff, is that once he is forced off the spot, more than not, his accuracy plummets. And you'd rather have a quarterback who's got that Mahomesian, shortstop ability where they can contort their body, different arm slots. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, a static drop back to, deliver the football. But there are still quarterbacks who can do that. And I also believe in taking quarterbacks with some sort of superhero trait. And Penix, as far as the arm talent goes, the velocity and the ability to hit anywhere on the field makes sense in that regard. It's almost like a Joe Flacco-esque kind of quarterback where he can hit anywhere on the field, the middle of the field, sometimes elongated release, sometimes an issue, not going to be incredibly dynamic as an athlete. But if you can static drop back him, he can hit anywhere on the field. So that is something that stands out to me. I almost wonder, again, with it being Lions season, I wonder if the Falcons have their eyes on one of these big wide receivers. It always comes back to wide receiver for me. But if you can get 5 wide receivers or 5 quarterbacks off the board before you're picking at 8, who knows what options are available. So if you keep banging that, hey, we know McCarthy, Daniels, May, and Williams are going to be gone. What if you got to come jump us for Penix as well, Raiders? I know you're desperate, Raiders, to come up for a quarterback. So that's something, let me put on the tinfoil hat here, but that's one I also question.
Yeah, Rusty Moore comes in with the $5 super chat over on YouTube. He says, Latu and Penix seem to be hot names. Latu retired 2 times due to injury, and Penix has no good knee left. And shoulders on top of that. He had 4 season-ending injuries, and he's 24 years old. Kirk coming off an Achilles injury, bro. Good morning, fellas. It's a good thing the caffeinated bliss is kicking in, Rusty, because that's depressing. And you don't look old enough to have been kicked in the nards as many times as us Falcons fans in our 40s and 50s have been. But you've got the cynicism down as well. And as far as taking a quarterback in the first round, I'm with Brian Friedman on this smokescreen. If I want to trade down, I need to talk up quarterbacks. It's that simple. If I want to move down, I want someone to come up that wants a quarterback because I will then get the most return on my trade. Simple as that. Do they like Michael Penix? Sure. If they take Michael Penix in the first round, I will fillet them tomorrow night. I will unleash anger if they take Michael Penix in the first round. I don't want him in the second round. I don't think that the Falcons just invested, I'm not going to say $180 million because it's closer to 100, but they've got a $25 million cap hit. They've got a $40 million cap hit next year on a 36-year-old quarterback. They've got 2 years to get it right with Kirk Cousins. Okay, Scott, well, what if you don't get it right? Then draft one next year. Go for it this year. You need a second wide receiver or a number 1. Rome Odunze could be a wide receiver 1. Drake London would be a pretty good number 2, wouldn't he? Yeah. Blake Neighbors could be a number 1. Okay, I'm in the second round. Ricky Pearsall, Roman Wilson, Lad McConkey, any of those guys. I need another corner. This draft's too good in the top 50, 60 prospects at the positions of value you need right now to go quarterback.
I will say, though, if you love the guy, even though you just took Kirk Cousins, I'll never fault somebody for going after a quarterback if they absolutely love the guy and they hit them. I remember I've lived in Eastern Iowa for the first 20 years of my life, 18 years of my life, and that's kind of no man's land as far as NFL fan bases. It's 50% Bears, 40% Packers, and then hodgepodge of other stuff, some Vikings, some Chiefs, some Rams back when they were St. Louis, Broncos, of course, as well. And a lot of Packers fans were absolutely freaking beside themselves when they took Jordan Love in the first round that season. I had some friends who were just dismay. I'm like, listen, it's kind of feels like an early pick there. You have Rodgers there. It doesn't make sense right now. But if he ends up being a franchise caliber quarterback, it will not matter. You will be happy to have him there. And right now, those same friends that I've talked with, I'll be like, hey, Nick, you remember how mad I was about Jordan Love? I'm not so mad now. Now, it's not always apples for apples in that one. It's a little different situation, especially with
they have gotten a quarterback in the following 3 drafts.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's not always apples for apples, but if you are as sure as you can be that this is going to be a franchise quarterback and you take him and he ends up being the dude for 10 years, nobody will care. But I'm with you at the same time. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, Scott. Given where you are in your window, with where the NFC South is at right now, with the talent that's going to be available, if you can trade down to, say, pick 18 and Penix is there and you fill out a bunch of other stuff there, okay, maybe we're talking about at 8 overall with all the vet talent that's going to be available for you with the potential blue chippers, with what you just paid Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I can really get behind it.
Yeah, I think it's a smokescreen. Absolutely. I'm warming up the next question because I want to hit on Ryan here. He says a QB room needs to be better. We can't count on frickin' Taylor Heineke if something happens to Kirk Cousins. You can't count on a rookie quarterback either if something happens to Kirk Cousins. You're then just building for the future. If your number one goes down, you're not making the playoffs. That's just pretty much how it is. Even if you have a rookie quarterback, yes, I know about CJ Stroud, but if you're taking the 5th available quarterback, you're not going to make the playoffs with Michael Penix as your starter if something happens to Kirk Cousins. So I get it. I do. But I don't want a quarterback in the first 2 picks for the Atlanta Falcons. I want 2 of 3. I want edge, wide receiver, corner. Be okay with that. There's some talk about Joe Alt as well. And I understand that one too. I get that too. There was a question someone's arguing me about. I said, if someone were to, of the guys, who do you not want your team to draft? And I was like, well, all the guys that make sense, I guess I'd say Brock Bowers. And this guy's arguing with you like crazy on that one. I'm like, Brock Bowers would be okay. I just think he's kind of duplicative. Well, Pitts sucks. Okay. I disagree, but you're not going to sell on Pitts right now. He's got too much potential versus what you could get for him to just replace him with what you hope Pitts could be. You think Bowers is, but he might not be. Michael Penix, quarterback at 8, that would be pretty upsetting to me. But I think that one is completely off the wall. Robot of Doom coming in on YouTube. Good to see you. He's a Twitch guy. I don't stream to Twitch. So thank you for coming in over on YouTube and to come in and see us. He says, want to get your thoughts on this guy's Chargers odds. Who's this guy? To draft a quarterback at number 5, went from 100-1 to 6-1. Why do you think that is? Because the Chargers want to trade out badly. So they've got to give the impression that they're going to do something like this. Justin Herbert has a $130 million dead cap hit. You're not doing anything with Justin Herbert. $130 million. And at best, you could cut that down. You know what his base salary is, Nick? What do you think on $130 million? What do you think Justin Herbert's base salary is?
$20 million?
6. If I traded for Justin Herbert, I would owe him $6 million. You'd get $6 million of relief from that, Chargers, and you would split $124 million across 2 seasons. No. There is no freaking way the Chargers take a quarterback at 5 unless it's to trade him later in the draft.
I mean, honest to God, if there was a redraft of the entire league right now, Herbert would probably be the 4th, 5th, or 6th player off the board. I know that Ben Solak, who does good work for the Ringer, put it out there that, hey, the Bears should maybe see how much Harbaugh loves Herbert and offer the 1st overall pick for Herbert. That's the type of quarterback that he thinks he is. So not happening. The contract doesn't make sense. And Herbert is a heck of a quarterback despite you want to talk about just chaos around him. The offensive line, the injuries, one of the worst defenses in the NFL the last 3 seasons. I would kill to have Herbert. I think he is underrated on the whole. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Herbert, what's he won? Well, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but I think if you switch Herbert and Mahomes, Herbert might have a ring and Mahomes might have missed the playoffs because of the situations there. It is still a team game at the end of the day.
Triple Eight Dr. Pepper says, if you love a QB, you take him. Positional value is critical. Atlanta may not get a chance at a quarterback they love over the next 2 or 3 years. If they loved one of the quarterbacks, they wouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins. If they thought they could get a quarterback that they loved, they wouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins. That ship has sailed. Triple Eight Dr. Pepper, you know who the Falcons loved? Kirk Cousins. They didn't think they could get up to get one of the guys they liked. If they did, they wouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins. That's how I firmly, truly believe that one. And I just do not see any way, anyhow, they take Michael Penix or any of the quarterbacks. One, I don't think anybody that I would take at 8 would fall to him. And 2, I don't want Michael Penix in the top 10 if I needed a quarterback. If I was the Raiders or Broncos, I wouldn't be advocating for Michael Penix at 8. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Let alone the Atlanta Falcons. No, thank you.
The one thing I do want to say is that we haven't talked about it yet so much on here, but it's the Arthur Blank fact, right? He's somebody he advocated, wanted to get out there and get Kirk Cousins. If he met with Michael Penix, and it sounds like by all accounts, he's a dynamic person. He had a really good pro day and a pre-draft cycle. I think he was the best quarterback at the combine. Now, granted, we didn't have like best throwing session of the quarterbacks of the combine, but if he met with Arthur Blank, and Arthur Blank's like, oh my God, this guy is built different. Love his mentality. Things can get a little bit convoluted and weird. I do think, at least. So we'll see. I don't think it's coming from nowhere. But again, put it on the tinfoil hat. I think it's probably more so let's get somebody to trade up in front of us or trade up with us to go get Penix, a team that's desperate. I mean, there's a lot of teams, Scott, in the draft that are a little bit dark horse-ish right now for quarterback. Obviously, we know that the Raiders are looking for quarterback. The Broncos are looking for quarterback. But there's been talk of the Saints looking at quarterback, maybe not totally loving with Derek Carr, maybe wanting to go up and get somebody. A team that's really, honestly, there's been a lot of smoke the last 48, 72 hours. The Seahawks, really interested in coming up for quarterback. Hey, who did the Seahawks offensive coordinator Grubbs coach last year and the year before? Oh, he was with Washington. He was the offensive coordinator for Michael Penix, and now he's the offensive coordinator for the Saints. That's interesting. Or for the Seahawks. That's interesting. We have the Rams potentially coming up for a quarterback. That's an interesting team to watch. And finally, the Cowboys also looking at quarterback. So a lot of teams still interested there, and it would make some sense to put it out there that we're banging the drum. Ooh, 5th quarterback here. He might come off the board at pick 8. Maybe you need to come up and get him. So again, I'll take the tinfoil hat off for a second, but this makes more sense to me than we just spent this much money on Kirk Cousins, and now we're going to use a top 8 pick on a quarterback.
Doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense to me is trading down, as William Wilcox says. I think there's a trade down for more picks, maybe even Minnesota. It's funny. Minnesota fans are really, really angry with Atlanta for Kirk Cousins. If we could get some of them, at least the vocal ones that have been on social media, if we could get both of those first-round picks, we'd be in good shape. That'd be a lot. 11 and 23 at 8, that'd be a lot. I don't know. They probably had to give up a second. That's the problem. I'm sure they did, because I've looked at multiple draft down scenarios, 11, 12, and 13, and I think 10, 11, and 12, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, I don't think any of those 3 teams have a second-round pick. The Raiders do. The Raiders do have one. Want to get into a bidding war. I think the Falcons would love to trade down a few spots and have their choice of Dallas Turner, of Leatu Latu, of Jared Verse, of Terrion Arnold, of Quinyon Mitchell.
Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy. Here comes the next question. Michael comes in. Michael, good to see you. Why the big push to take Byron Murphy? Isn't he basically Grady Jarrett? So will we be trading Grady Jarrett?
You don't need to trade Grady Jarrett to add more defensive talent. Grady Jarrett's son is setting here. He's still really good, but he's somebody that you're happy to have right now, but he shouldn't prevent you from adding talent. Murphy last season, I think ideally his best fit is at that 3 technique spot, but he absolutely the 1 technique last season. Everybody thinks, Tavondre Sweat out there with Texas, but Murphy honestly had probably as many A-gap snaps as Sweat did last year out there at Texas. Don't fact check me on that one. Just a lot of snaps of him taking on double teams for a 290-pound player, which is just crazy and doing well. I'm actually doing pretty well there. So he's a versatile player. I think he can go all the way from 5 technique down to 1 technique. And you need depth. If there's anything I've learned over the last 10, 15 years, more so in college football than the NFL, because in the NFL, quarterback's king, but you don't just want that first wave of your defensive line to be good. You need that second wave. You need to rotate bodies. Your top guys, unless your name is Max Crosby, are only playing 60 to 70% of the snaps, which leaves, if every single starter is doing that, that leaves a whole nother starter level of reps out there.
Right.
So getting in Murphy, getting a rotation, being strong there, I think if you can build a first and second string defensive line that can go up against anybody, I don't think there is anything besides a franchise quarterback that is as valuable in the NFL. It'd be quarterback 1, defensive line dominance 2, offensive line dominance 3.
Grady's coming off an injury. He turns 31 on Sunday. Happy birthday, Grady Jarrett. He'll turn 31. David Onyemata is 31. He'll turn 32 in November. They're drawing some parallels there between Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator, LA Rams. Can he find his next Aaron Donald? Okay, even an Aaron Donald light. Byron Murphy is considered far and away the best interior defensive lineman in this class, one of the best in the last several classes, along with Jalen Carter. He's 21 years old. So that's the thought process here, Michael, is start stacking them like cordwood, turn a strength into a superpower. Is he my pick? No. He's would be down the line considerably behind a lot of guys, but I can understand it. Again, I was pretty adamant that I was way, way, way against the Kyle Pitts pick. Okay. I wasn't a huge fan of Drake London pick, and I could justify the Bijan Robinson pick. I wouldn't want Byron Murphy as my pick, but I can absolutely justify that one pretty easily. He'd be a solid pick. Again, it's going to be hard for the Falcons to surprise us at 8, just with the options that are there. Michael Penix would qualify as a surprise.
Yeah, and I mean, coming back to Murphy here, I think that over the last 72 hours, his odds to be the number 1 defensive player off the board have jumped a lot. There's actually a lot of buzz that if the top 3 wide receivers are gone, which it seems very possible for the Bears picking at 9, that Murphy actually might end up being the pick there. So he's incredibly young, was very productive this last year at Texas. And I wish he tested, a little bit better or had a little bit more length to him, but he's pretty interesting. We got Walker coming in here asking Murphy or Fisk. I think Fisk is like 3 years older, did not have the same level of production, playing on a far superior overall unit out there. Florida State probably had top 2 or 3 defensive line in football last season. Fisk was good, but Murphy's definitely a better player, more productive, and better prospect. Doesn't mean he'll be better in the NFL, but better prospect.
For me, you have to turn this into an either or type of question, which is what you said. But I'm talking about let's stack them, because you want Murphy at 8, and then who do you take with your second round pick? Murphy and Ricky Pearsall, or would you rather have Dallas Turner and Braden Fisk? Yeah, I'd rather go. I'd rather go Dallas Turner and Fisk in that case, because I don't want Murphy at 8. I mean, I get it, but that's not my choice. I'd rather go edge there at 8.
Yeah. I just like Murphy. I have been banging that drum since November.
And if you come down a few spots, Murphy at 11, 12, 13, there's a lot of good options there. Rusty talking about Justin Herbert and the trade there. Yeah, I'd donate my left peanut for Justin Herbert. That'd be, what is he now, 25? He's still super young, isn't he? I mean, he's about the same age as how old is he? He's not much different than the guys in the draft or Justin Fields. He's 20. He just turned 26.
Jesus.
So he's right at 2 years older than Bo Nix and Michael Penix and Jaden Fields, for that matter. And he's 1 year older than
Justin.
I just said Jaden Fields. Jaden Daniels, because I'm thinking Justin Fields.
Yeah.
He's 1 year older than Justin Fields, who is only 1 year older than the first 3 quarterbacks other than Drake May that could go in the draft.
Yeah, pretty crazy. We'll see what happens with there. It's kind of funny to go back. I saw tweets the other day. If you have a game of Jaden Daniels throwing to Brandon Ayuk playing a game against Justin Herbert, just showing how long Jaden Daniels has been in college football as well. I mean, I know it's the NIL and it's the COVID stuff, but this is one of the oldest draft classes ever. Also, it's one of the lowest underclassmen class ever. I think teams are talking about 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, that it is very devoid of talent in terms of typical years. You're getting priority free agent grades in the last 100 selections of the draft this year. Now, I know 2025, that COVID year runs out, and it's going to be a monster draft class next year. I know that I've already seen the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl scouts complaining that they have just so many names to go through next year compared to this year. But
it'd be good for both games, because I don't typically go to the Shrine Bowl, but it'll be good. You'll have more talent across the 2 games. OMT says, we re-signed Matt Ryan. We're fine. Yeah. Give that man an extension. one of the reasons he's out. I see some of the Matt Ryan hate, and it's like, listen, you don't have to agree, but you don't have to be an a-hole either on some of these things, especially on a channel I control. Just dog cussing Matt Ryan. I'm like, nobody wants him. He's out. Well, he's 39 years old now. Yeah, nobody particularly wants him. The other part of this, okay, Joe Flacco is still in the league. Joe Flacco, one of the things that struck me is okay being a backup. He might want to be a coach one day. Matt Ryan hit on that at his press conference. No, I do not want to be a coach. So why would I want to go back somebody up somewhere else when that's basically what I'm doing? He could still be in the league somewhere if he wanted to be, but he's probably not good enough to be a starter for a team that wants to go younger. And he's not good enough to be a starting quarterback for a contender looking like the Atlanta Falcons, looking for what they want out of Kirk Cousins. And he says, Roy says, he had a good career. I'm glad he retired a Falcon. Me too. Keith and Ellen Johnson coming in with the stars support. Appreciate you. One of the things, sometimes this can be a little concerning. I know people ask, I know this is self-serving on my part, but how do we donate stars? Facebook's made it a little easier. They've put in the chat, they've put a stars link where you can just go right to it. I'm going to drop it in the chat real quick. Keith and Ellen Johnson, appreciate you sending the stars. You can go there and they get bonuses too. So buy 400 stars, get 350 for free, that type of thing. So they try and Vegas casino this thing a little bit. So certainly appreciate it. Keith and Ellen Johnson with the support there. We're at 41 minutes. Think we should run through a mock draft real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens here with this mock. Curious to see what happens, man. I'm really excited to see the draft come to fruition. It sounds like the Cardinals are going to hold fast at 4 till they're on the clock. There's some movement for J.J. McCarthy at 3. So what does that do with the market with Drake May? It's going to be a wild one. So excited.
Where did I see? Oh, I wanted to see this. I wanted to show it to you. It was, and I wanted to show it to everybody. So I hope it was on one of the guys I normally follow and didn't just show up on my feed somewhere. Oh, here it is. This is pretty amazing. Before we go to the mock, I want to show this to everybody real quick. This was pretty cool. Adam Schefter retweeted this. Adam Schefter says, ESPN content producer Paul Hembo, he calculated the percentage of first-round picks that hit or miss based on whether that player signed a second contract with the team that drafted him. And this is pretty interesting on whether or not, you sign to a second contract. Now, a lot of this has to do with money. How much does that second contract cost?
Yeah.
But a lot of it also has to do with where am I drafting the best? And Nick, I've told you before recently, and I'm more convinced than ever right now about the wide receivers. That said, I don't want to sign a second contract to a wide receiver. I'd rather just draft one. Yeah. That pushes them down. Because I might have taken a first-round receiver, and I don't want to pay Justin Jefferson $30 million. Was he a hit? Was Tyreek Hill? He wasn't a first-round guy, but I didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill a second contract. Was he a hit in his draft pick? Yeah, he was, even if he went in the first round. I know he didn't. Justin Jefferson was a hit. I don't care if he doesn't re-sign with the Vikings or not. That's a hit. If Drake London doesn't re-sign because he wants $28 million, it's still a hit. But center on here, that's pretty good odds. Offensive tackle, pretty good. Running back is down here at 38%. That's going to be decreased because people don't want to sign running backs to a second contract, period. Not just the team that drafted them. So some pretty cool. I've had Lion Coffee up there for a while. You're welcome, Lion Coffee.
Yeah.
That's some pretty cool data that was put together on teams that they drafted and got second contracts from the team. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, you absolutely want to sign him to a second contract. So these are flat out misses at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I got to say, I think this is a really bad study overall because the defining endpoint of a second contract with the team that drafted them, I don't think is a very good marker for success or not. I mean, is Khalil Mack not a success with the Raiders because he didn't sign a second contract? Right. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire a successful pick by the Chiefs in the first round?
That's why I hit the running backs on there.
Yeah.
And the wide receivers again, because it's going to be skewed based on the total amount of money that goes to those positions. Wide receivers is going to skew downward.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson might not sign a second contract. He's still a hit. But the center position is interesting. So the one that catches me, like I said, on this, Nick, is quarterback. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, you want him. If he's good, you want him to sign to a second contract. I think that's the one where this is pretty accurate as far as your hit and miss ratio of 46% on first round quarterbacks.
Yep, that's right. I just think this is a flawed design of the study. It's pretty noisy overall on the outcomes. I would rather look at something like career AV, the allotted value that you get from Pro Football Reference or some sort of metric like that, because the second contract stuff is very dependent on where the team is at. Is AJ Brown was traded before a second contract, not a first round pick, but is he not a hit because he didn't sign with the team that drafted him? No, not at all. So I don't think that this is that's a very good design study. Personally, I saw that this morning.
But it's interesting data, something to take a look at. And again, the guys drafting the bad teams drafting, they trade away their guys because they don't want to resign a second contract.
The one thing I did want to add here, I know we got to run the mock draft simulator here, but it was interesting to sound like the top three positions that were retained were the slow developmental positions. You had your tackle, your guard, and your center, positions that, well, we drafted them in the first round and we didn't really get the benefit of drafting them until their third, fourth year on their contract. We better damn well retain them. They're reaching their peak now. Whereas positions like cornerback, running back, wide receiver, you hit that 30-year-old mark and it's for a lot of those guys. So again, another one that stands out to me, Jalen Ramsey, not a hit because he was not signed by the Jags. I don't know.
Yep. I get it. I do. But like I said, for me, the one that translates 1-to-1 on that is quarterback. Yep. If you're going to re-sign your guy, if you hit, you're going to re-sign him. That's from the Matthew Staffords to the Justin Herberts. It's you're going to re-sign on that one. Let me hit the start button on this. We'll see how we go here. And let's see. Let me zoom in here. JJ McCarthy is almost always available at number 8 on this for a trade down, which could happen. I mean, it's possible. So that one's not completely crazy for me. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. I like those first 4 picks. Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, that puts Joe Alt in play. And who am I missing here? And JJ McCarthy in play, which screams for a trade down, which I still think the Falcons would really like to do.
There's Minnesota.
Possibly with the Minnesota Vikings. Problem I have with Minnesota is have the Falcons ever traded back in the first round? Yeah. One, I'm sure they have. The big one I remember was they traded the rights to number 1 overall to the Colts, and they took Jeff George. And I'm not sure that was the pick the year they got Rison and Chris Hinton out of that deal, which was a pretty damn good trade for the Falcons. And then they ended up with Jeff George like 5 years later. Anyway, but yeah, Beasley, I saw that question on there. I want to trade back. They don't have a second that I really like.
Could you give 23 and give them 43?
Too much. About 74 and another third next year. See, I'm like a coach when I'm doing these. I'm like a coach who acts like the general manager. I'll give away future picks because I don't care. If it doesn't work, I'm not here anyway. I'll give away next year's draft picks because if I miss on this, I'm going to be fired anyway because my team stinks. So I'm going to trade away 8 and 74 and a future third for 11 and 23. Oh, and they took it. What do you think, Nick? Is there any possibility of that happening?
I mean, I
8
think
and 2/3 for 11 and 23.
My big thing here with the trading the future picks, I know you just said it doesn't matter for this situation, but in reality, I could see Atlanta looking to add 2025 picks because you have the impending punishment. So you giving away picks, although maybe if you give away picks, like, oh, sorry, it's already gone.
You might know what it is before the draft.
Yeah.
So they could announce that before the draft of what happens. So right now we will see. But yes, I think the Falcons are going to end up losing a pick or two based on the Kirk Cousins tampering charge from Adam Schefter's report. He made it sound inevitable. So is what I see on that one. So that trade was accepted. The Falcons now have 11-23, and we're back on the clock. Dallas Turner went at that 8 spot. Joe Alt is gone. Brock Bowers is gone, which leaves us the 2 big edges, Leatu Latu. It leaves us Jared Verse. It leaves us any of the cornerbacks. Quinyon Mitchell, Leatu Latu, Byron Murphy is still there. Talise Fuloga, and Terrion Arnold. I think those are the guys you're looking at, or Jared Verse. Been a lot of smoke around a trade back in a Leatu Latu as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with so many defensive players still available, I'd be curious to see if like a team picking 16 would be wanting to do that. I'd be probably
think I could get 14 and 45 from the Saints
if you give them 79, maybe. You probably got to give up 79.
Too much. How about 109?
God
All
bless
right,
him.
we move back again. The Falcons are wheeling and dealing. The trade backs, I like them on this one, and I've got my choice. Brian Thomas went, Fuaga, JJ McCarthy went at 11. We knew that one. That's where we just traded, so they traded up for a quarterback. Now we've gotten some more. And he says, if McCarthy is there, trade back again. Jared Verse, and that's the thing, we still have our choices. Now I'm not going to just keep trading back. Let's go ahead and take our edge, or let's go ahead and get our defender right now. Jared Verse, Leatu Latu, Terrion Arnold, Byron Murphy. If I could do that, trade back twice, and I'm sitting at 14. I got another. Ryan Adonis says, laugh out loud, helping the Saints get the QB of the future, or he's a bust. Or I've just screwed him because he's a bust. Archangel says, I want Verse. See, that's the thing about this. Is when I've got 5 guys to choose from that I like, and I do, I'm okay moving back, but let's not just move back for the next hour.
Yeah, I think, we're talking a lot of the edge rushers here, but I see one. You still have the Dallas Turner did come off the board, but
Dallas came off at 8. We traded out of that spot, and he went at 8.
You have Latu, Murphy, and Verse still available. What if we kind of mixed it up and we went Mitchell instead? I mean, there's been some talk that he has a chance to be the number 1 guy. I feel like we haven't mocked him to the Falcons like once. And you brought in Raheem Morris. He's a defensive backs guy. You brought in Lake as your defensive coordinator. He's a defensive backs guy. AJ Terrell's about to get expensive. And
all right, I'm overruling you.
Okay. I just think
you got to go DL. So do you want edge, Verse, or Murphy? I'm not going corner. I don't want to go corner here.
Okay. My number 1 guy would be Murphy, but if you want to go edge, I probably would go. Oh, man. The Latu medical stuff just concerns me. He's also not as explosive as Verse. He doesn't have as much 3-down potential as Verse, but he's a better pass rusher. So I lean my better
It'll
player.
Be a fun draft, isn't it? I can't wait to be on the clock tomorrow, y'all.
My highest rated player would be Murphy here. But if I had to take one of the edges, I guess I go Latu. I don't know. I'm good with Verse or Latu. What do you think?
Here's the thing, Falcons fans, as you're watching this, I would be content with Mitchell, with Latu, with Murphy, with Arnold, with Verse. I'd be okay with any of those. Ryan, we'll go with an OG here, and we're going to let Ryan break it. And where's your pass rush, you moron? Well, I got 23. Jared Verse might be there at 23.
I was going to say, you could go edge then after that. I mean, we did the Mile High Huddle roundtable yesterday, and we went edge and then defensive line there. So we had, there's Latu. Easy, send it.
So with 23, I went Latu. I didn't even give it a choice. So with our trade downs, we got Byron Murphy and Latu. We're back on the clock at 43. Where's my corner? Where's my big wide receiver?
There's Michael Penix.
There's Michael Penix right there. You know what? With our second round pick, if he's still there, why not Newton on that one? I think Murphy's considerably better than Johnny Newton, just from what I've heard from people I trust, like Nick.
Murphy's very good. I honestly think, I thought I was like, okay, well, I'm not as high on him when he's been mocked in the top 10, but now people have been talking about him like he's not even making the first round, which is surprising to me, all the same, but he doesn't have the same run stopping ability, in my opinion. And unfortunately, Scott, we really lost on a tier of cornerbacks here. I don't love the value on any of these guys at 43.
Rakestraw at 38. Kool-Aid McKinstry. Yeah, I don't want to go corner there. TJ Tampa, I've seen sneak into the first round a lot. The wide receivers are there. And you know what? I'll go with my second. If Penix is still there with my second round pick, if he's my fourth pick, okay. Love my wide receiver here. I got my edge.
You had Fisk there as well.
Troy Franklin.
I don't love Franklin.
I don't love Franklin either.
I feel like
I really like Roman Wilson. There's Braden Fisk. I like Ricky Pearsall a lot. I could get my safety here. Jalen Polk is there.
Can you scroll down some more? Just because I know that the things get a little bit funky. There's Tampa as well. I mean, I would understand Tampa, I guess. Really long player, has played a lot of off coverage. I just feel like the cornerback room really dries up after those top 4 or 5, which was one reason I was curious about Mitchell there earlier, Scott, just, stamping that one. But out of this board, I probably lean Pearsall, but
I love Ricky Pearsall. 42-inch vertical leap, 6'6" 3-cone, hands like glue. I love Ricky Pearsall. Done. Max Milton, the corner, went at 44. That leaves us a chance. You know what? With my fourth pick and a couple of trade downs, I don't mind going quarterback here.
Very little risk at this point with how much
low risk here with my fourth pick. I'm happy taking Michael Penix Jr. there. And frankly, I could probably spin him off for another pick in a year. If he's not gonna be a depreciating asset over the course of the next 12 months, I'm okay going there. With my fourth pick, I don't want him in the first 2 picks. 2 of my first 3 picks, I want DL/wide receiver/corner. Haven't gotten a corner yet. The corner that we like to take is Andrew Phillips. He went at 66.
There's still some good cornerbacks available, though.
There's Trace Monster, Johnny Wilson, safeties. Kyrie Jackson, Austin Booker. There's another edge. We could double up at edge. I know you like Austin Booker a lot.
I wish he'd have tested better. I liked him more in theory going into the draft than he actually materialized because of how important.
I'm not going down that far. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. I got a couple of Brandon Coleman's more of a guard for me. I don't know much about Kieran. I've never seen that name, to be honest.
I've sent him to you. He's the one from Yale that has the unbelievable wingspan, like 37-inch arm length. Had injuries, so there's some questions there. The one who stands out for me was Kieran, the Yale guy, as well as if you'd scroll down.
57, I could use it. That's good enough for me. I could use a third offensive tackle on this team. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Would you scroll down just a little
bit?
Jake
Matthews is getting older. And Caleb McGarry's is a liability in pass protection.
The other one who stood out to me was Renardo Green. I think that he's a pretty good safety. I think he's a really good number 2 safety, honestly.
Safety or corner?
Corner. Excuse me. I meant corner.
Good. We need a corner. I'm good.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Renardo Green. Now we're off the clock for a little bit.
Yeah.
KB. Kenny says Austin Booker, dopest name in the draft. Kenny. What do you think that B stands for? Eric Elf. Oh, you know what? Here's Theo Johnson sitting there at 135 for me. Another traits monster, 6'5" and change, 260 pounds, with a RAS score that's going to be in the 10s. I'm not even going to scroll down unless I see a safety I like in the next 3 picks. There's Luke McCaffrey. I like him as well, but I'm going to go Theo. This team could use another tight end, especially with his traits and abilities and size. He's 260. Teach him to block. We got 2 more picks left. But Limmer's a pretty good center prospect. If you wanted some competition there as a developmental guy, I would still love to take a safety. I just don't see him. I like another 300-pounder in Justin Aboigbe. I don't know much about Trey Taylor there, so I'm okay here with the last 2 picks.
Let's go Bo Limmer.
I wanted to go center, or if I wanted to go defensive line.
I think Bo Limmer is the one to go here. Guard, center, versatility. You're talking 6th round. Even if he just ends up being a 2nd string.
And if Aboigbe's still there, we'll take him again.
There's value.
Dylan
Trey Taylor's a really good option here. Curtis Jacobs.
Aboigbe went right after we picked.
That's okay. I like Gabe Hall more than a
Gabe
Boyd.
Hall, he's a long 280-pound DL.
He stands out to me.
TJ Barner's not bad. You know what?
You took Penix already. I know.
Safety, Tyler Owens. I didn't take a safety, did I?
Is Trey Taylor still available?
What position?
Safety, Air Force.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to end up being a starting safety in the league.
I need a body. I need somebody back there that could develop as a take a chance. I need a safety.
I think he won whatever the award is for the best defensive back in college football last season. And he is going to have good special teams ability as well. So I know that a lot of people speak about his character, his work ethic. I like him a lot. So I think he's a good pick there.
All right, y'all. So we traded down from 8 to 11. We had to give up a third and a future third to get their first round pick. And then we traded down again and we got we got their first and a second. We gave up a fourth to do it. And in doing so, we got Byron Murphy on the defensive line. We got edge Latu at 23. And then I got wide receiver 43. And then, went skill here, got a quarterback of the future, possibly. Addressed a need at corner in the third round. In the fifth round, we gave away our fourth. In the fifth round, we got a traits monster tight end as a possible backup tight end, and Theo Johnson, who developed some competition for Drew Dahlman at center and another hard-hitting, good football player at safety in there.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Dude, we're running out of time, Lante. I apologize. You're interrupting Nick a lot. I know we're running out of time. That's one of the reasons why. I apologize.
It's okay.
And I'm especially, you can tell when the caffeine kicks in.
This is a good one. I like this one a lot. The value, I almost wish that we could have packaged those picks and gone up for a cornerback. Like if we could have paired 43 and 79 to move up to 26 and get a cornerback there, that's something I probably would have looked to have done. But yeah, to walk out with Murphy and Latu for a team that, Scott, you and I are deprived of trench talent. We start frothing at the mouth thinking about these guys. Terry says we butchered this mock. I butchered it maybe because the up and down, but I don't know. I think your first 4 picks are pretty darn good value overall. But hey, man, we'll see how it plays out on Thursday and judge us, in hindsight. We're going to have misses on here, no doubt, but that's okay.
Yeah, you're talking about I think the Falcons' biggest need going into this draft: edge, corner, wide receiver 2, safety. Okay. Well, I got arguably the best player in defensive player in the draft that could go off, and I got my edge. I got wide receiver 2. I got corner. I got safety, and I got possibly a quarterback of the future. Pretty happy. Would be pretty happy for that. That would be. I'm biased. We did it, but I'd be pretty happy with this coming out of this with this group for the Atlanta Falcons. Again, I want to come out of the second round with a wide receiver. This wide receiver class is so deep. I want to come out of this with a wide receiver on this. Kenny Booker coming in, finishing off. Are there any players who might go undrafted but have a chance to shine at the next level, like a Nate Landman from last season? Kenny, yes, of course. Appreciate the super chat. Now, who are they? I don't know. If we really like them, we want them to get drafted. So this is a good question for Monday. Who did you guys like that didn't get drafted? And then I think that's a better question for Monday.
Yeah. And real quick, breaking news here from Pete Thamel that, and I saw Robot of Doom also mentioned in the chat, but I did think it's worth mentioning. Reggie Bush is getting back his 2005 Heisman with a formal reinstatement of the trophy coming today. The decision comes amid what the Heisman Trust calls enormous changes in the college football landscape. So I think that's very fair. I know that, the money under the table and everything like that, that's been going on anyways. You'd be
wonder if they'll give USC back their BCS championship because Pete Carroll and USC never actually won one.
Yeah, well, that's
after they had that one stripped.
But happy for Reggie Bush and seeing the Heisman committee get that one right. In my
guys,
opinion.
we're going to go over to youtube.com/Mile High Huddle and talk some more draft right now if you want to come join us. Otherwise, I want to say thank you to our super chat superstars, Kenny Booker, Keith and Ellen Johnson, Rusty coming in a couple of times, Lance, the coach, Edward Brown and Mark Schrader, nice and early. And of course, Michael Ronquillo. Thank you so much for the huge support for the show. We will be back, unless you want to come continue the conversation over at Mile High Huddle, tomorrow, roughly 8 o'clock. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you can get the notification when we go live. As we go live during the draft, we'll go all the way through our gut reaction to the Atlanta Falcons pick. On that note, we're out of here. Nick, you got something to say real quick?
Nothing to say. Excited for Broncos talk now.
All right, drink your Lion coffee. We will see you tomorrow night.
Peace.